Hello and welcome to Pivot with PJ. This is your host PJ. Hi Sridevi, welcome to the latest podcast episode. Tattvamasi, I think that's how you've named your coaching practice.
Clarion call of Lord Ayyappa is Tattvamasi.
The real issue is that are we solving the right problems?
Coach the person, not the problem.
How do you see a salesperson versus a sales leader?
Exactly as you would see the difference between a player and a captain. And for the salesperson, he can't take his eye off the pre-sales spread. The rest you have to leave it to the way the combinations work in the universe.
I'm PJ and I'm here to navigate the bends of the roads with you. I'm looking forward to it. Let's get on this ride together on Pivot with PJ.
I was curious to know what drew you to coaching, because I know you've also worn multiple hats and you
Right,
have been in startups, and so
right.
it just
Yeah, I have, right? And see, I've been in large public companies, enterprises, super large enterprises like Cisco, and
wow.
smaller public companies, uh, about 10 years in the States and all of that. Came back, I tried my own startup. It didn't quite take off, so decided to shut shop. Um,
Mm-hmm.
then went into, um, again, took a full time job, leadership positions in growth stage startups. See, at some point, and I'd always been fascinated by human mind and behavior, right? How complex yet how powerful it is, and in some ways predictable, in some ways it's not. So the sheer potential and complexity of human mind, it has always fascinated me, right from uh, my teenage years, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you lose the way, kind of went after growth and wealth and all of that. Recently, about 4 or 5 years back, I found a need to explore my own wiring,
Wow.
right? um, I realized I'm doing things that are not very helpful to me. I don't think it was midlife crisis per se, because I was being successful largely in traditional sense at work, and I was growing. I think the best analogy to do is Stephen Covey's obituary analogy, right? Am I ready to say my obituary today will be something that I'll be proud of? It just didn't feel like there was enough impact that I was making.
That's
So
deep.
I decided to take up, coach training, and you know, made a world of difference for me, and it changed my life completely, in terms of the basic tenets of coaching, the ICF competencies that you mentioned. And I wanted to go deeper, man. I just couldn't be satisfied with it. I wanted to go deeper, so I've signed up for master's degree in psychology.
Oh, wow.
Still,
Okay.
yeah, still going on. So I think, I was still grappling with the decision of whether, and I've been coaching uh, while being in a full-time job for the last about 4 years, give or take. um, but yeah, recently, I think I mentioned this to you, about a few months back, I decided to do this full-time, take a plunge. And very similar to your um, line of thinking, I think it's the impact that draws me to this, as opposed to um, any other benefit. I think the impact that I am able to create, the legacy that I can leave behind, the lives that I can touch, um, yeah, that draws me to coaching more than anything else.
Thank you for sharing, PJ. Thank you so much for
Yeah,
sharing. That was deep, when you mentioned, am I ready to write my obituary today? Well, it takes me to such a positive space, because then there is a world that opens up around, in front of you, saying,
right,
I could do this and I could do that and I could be a lot more.
right,
And then what do I wake up to tomorrow morning? I also
right,
love this line from Ikigai, that book Ikigai, where
right.
I don't know whether the world, whether it is getting interpreted incorrectly. I wish
Hmm.
it is not, but I love the way it sat with me. Very similar. It said, if you had to wake up tomorrow morning and not die, then what are you waking up to live for?
Wow.
And that's your purpose.
True.
And then there's so much to do
True.
that you better wake
Absolutely.
up early.
Absolutely. It's amazing how many people, um, and for so long, talk about the meaning, the purpose, um, right from, Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning is one amazing, very inspiring work. And for somebody who had this passion to write about logotherapy, but then ended up in a concentration camp
Yeah.
and spent years at Auschwitz, and then who survived it and ended up writing a book afterwards. I think it's such an inspiring story, but also what he writes about, um, the idea of meaning is something that I find very fascinating. Right? A lot of times um, we get boggled down with this uber meaning of life. Hey, what is my life's purpose? What do I live for? More existential vacuum, existential frustration that we deal with. But then there is also, you know there's also beauty and benefit in just looking at meaning very contextually, right? Like you mentioned, what am I waking up this morning for? It doesn't have to be to put a dent in the universe. It could just simply be take my son to his football class. uh,
Yes.
and,
Yes.
and that gives meaning to me, and in that moment. And you know and I think when I started thinking about things in meaning in more contextual, more short term, more uh, not so grandiose way, I avoided a lot of dissonance internally, because you don't
Correct.
have to question yourself. um why am I doing this, and getting anxious about it, or kind of having a conflict with your own values and all. It's okay. It's okay once in a while. I find uh, spending time with my son important. It is super important. But then today I'm going to spend time with Sri talking about coaching. uh, you know no dissonance here. Absolutely, I'm super thrilled to do this. So I think looking at meaning in a more, I don't know what is the best way to call it. Can we call it micro meaning? I don't know. In a more contextual way, I think is
I think looking
important too.
at meaning in a more being in the present way without overthinking about. See, this existential questions come, PJ, I think, because I'm more thinking of how am I going to stay relevant tomorrow? Or what are people going to say about me? Again, I don't mean it from a judgmental perspective. I'm saying
Right.
even from a positive way.
Right.
But if I just had to say that I am here right now and what do I do now, which is the most difficult thing, by the way, it is not so easy as I'm making it out to be, then I think it is just about wake up every morning and do what you have to do. And just do it well. Do it with happy presence. Because I'm a big believer of energy. And I just believe that if you can bring the right energy into whatever you do, it could be watering plants, it could be, going for a spa, it could be playing with your child, it could be coaching conversation, it could be something like this. Can I just bring the best energy I have at that point in time? And it's always not high energy. There are times in my life that I am very low. There are times in the day that you're very low. So, can you be there with that low energy and be kind to yourself with that low energy and say, here I am doing the best I can without stretching and without breaking?
Right. Splendid.
And yeah, I think, yeah, for me, ultimately, it's all about energy. Can I just bring my energy into what I'm doing?
Wonderful.